All right.
What's going on, Fourth and Inches podcast listeners? You got Kevin, Steve. What's going on, Kev?
What's going on, Stevie P? What's going on, listeners out there? It's our daily fantasy show where we give you a lineup for Fanduel and DraftKings for the week. So, with that said.
Yes, guys, we're going to do all that real quick. We just want to get into some real quick stuff that happened today. So, as you guys might have heard, Ezekiel Elliott is out for the next 6 games. Me and Kev were just talking about it, and, it sucks. But, Kev, I believe, doesn't have him on any of his fantasy teams.
I do not.
I have him on a couple of mine. But, it is what it is. We kind of expected this to happen. We kind of wish it would have happened earlier in the season, so we had him for the playoffs. But it looks like, if anything, we'll have him for Week 16, so hopefully you make it that far.
Yeah, which would be kind of tough without Ezekiel Elliott on the team. So
I hear that.
Hopefully you get Darren. You had Darren McFadden as a backup plan, or Alfred Morris. We've been saying McFadden on this podcast, but. Hopefully you had him as a backup plan, and maybe he can give you, enough production to get you there until Zeke gets back.
I hear that. So with that being the case, just looking at everything all in all, if, either of those guys are not available, you might want to pick up Rod Smith. Rod Smith is actually, they're saying the number 2. Me and Kev basically feel like it's going to be by committee situation until they figure out who the lead guy is.
Yeah.
So, if you can pick up Rod Smith, maybe he's a coin flip and he wins that little battle that they're going to have for the next couple of weeks.
Exactly. Who knows? I guess, as we've seen across the NFL, committee running back situations can work. But that doesn't really help you if you're an Ezekiel Elliott owner, because he's getting all the work. So,
I hear that. Yeah, I hear that. Just another thing I want you guys to keep it in mind. T.Y. Hilton came up today with a groin injury. And,
that's not good.
Exactly.
Late week injuries are never good.
Exactly. So, knowing that, I would keep an eye on T.Y. if you have him in your season-long leagues. And, you want to make sure you have a backup plan in case that is the, what's going to go down. So you might want to, figure that out. But other than that, let's get to the DFS stuff.
Okay.
All right. So you want to do DraftKings first, Kev, or you want to do?
Yeah, I'll throw out my DraftKings lineup.
All right.
At quarterback, me and Steve were talking earlier. Pretty much, almost everybody's going to have the Pittsburgh, some form of Pittsburgh Steeler lineup, with them going against Indy. So I went Big Ben. It's nothing needs to be said. Indy's defense is terrible against the pass. So we're at my running backs. I went with Jordan Howard, who is playing against Green Bay, who hasn't been very good against the run. And I went with Bilal Powell, who is only $4,000 and is going to get most of the work with Matt Forte likely out for the week. I went with Antonio Brown to pair with Ben, and obviously against, Indy's D. I went with Devin Funchess, who's been getting force-fed targets out there in Carolina. And I went with Marvin Jones, who has looked like a stud, really, this year. Marvin Jones, really, to me, has come on strong this year. At tight end, I went with Kyle Rudolph, who's going against Washington. Washington seems to get beat at the tight end spot. At my flex spot, I went with a little flyer. From what I've seen a little bit, I went with Deontay Thompson from Buffalo. He's been kind of hit or miss, but I think he's a pretty good flyer to take against New Orleans defense. With Marshawn Lattimore probably sticking either Benjamin or Zay Jones. If Benjamin, I'm probably sticking Benjamin. Benjamin played last week, so. And then with the defense, I went with the Rams defense against Houston's offense, who has Tom Savage at quarterback.
I hear that. So for me, I always tell you guys, you guys have probably heard it 1,000 times already by now, but I either go expensive or I go cheap. And this year this week I went cheap. Eli Manning is going over to San Fran, playing against San Fran over there, and San Fran has just been a terrible defense. Eli didn't look terrible last week. He finished with 14.8 fantasy points, on a game that they were being completely smashed. 14 is not great, but, it didn't kill you either. So I think Eli, with the weapons that he has, I think he could put up some points. I'm hoping for 250 and 2 or 3 touchdowns against a terrible San Francisco team. And I still think the Giants might lose that game.
That's very possible. Very possible.
Exactly. But, Eli is a cheap option that could have a good week this week, so I decided to go with him because I wanted to go expensive in other spots. So I went Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon, he's going up against Indy. Me and Kev just talked about it. He went to the other side of that. So I think I really just... me and Kev talked about it, and I feel like you have to have at least one of those guys, if not 2 of them, in your lineup. So Le'Veon is to me the safest running back this week. So I like his floor and his ceiling. I also went with Bilal Powell at 4,000 because I don't think that Matt Forte is going to play in this game. And if that's the case, Bilal Powell is a very good pass-catching back against a terrible Tampa defense that is a just sieve to running backs and pass-catching anything. So, could be a good game for him. I went with actually the cheapest good wide receiver I could find. I went with Dontrell Inman against Green Bay. A lot of people forget about him being moved over to Chicago. I believe he is the number 1 pass catching option there. And, they were, with their bye week last week, I think they kind of acclimated him to, their scheme. And I think they're going to give him some balls tomorrow to catch. And against Green Bay, I think he could be good. They're just a bad defense.
Yep.
So, I took a chance on him at $3,000. And then I went with Sterling Shepard to pair with Eli and Robert Woods. Both of these guys are, to me, Sterling Shepard was a drop away from having, a bad Eli pass away from having a huge game last week. And I'm hoping that they connect this week. And Robert Woods, everybody saw what he did last week. And Houston is just a terrible pass defense. They're a defense that is not able to really stop anybody right now. So I kind of feel like Robert Woods is going to be very highly involved in this game. And, the Rams are going to just shove it down their throat. And we went also Safarian Jenkins at my tight end position. It is his revenge game. I believe in revenge games. Sort of, kind of. When it's a bad release, when it's a situation where the player played there and the team just completely gave up on him, I kind of feel like players it pumps them a little bit up. I don't know how much I would put that into fantasy points, but he's a guy that's highly targeted on his team. And, I just feel like the Jets are going to try to smash the Tampa Bay Bucks. So, and it's also a Josh McCown, game also. So, he might want to throw it to Austin Safarian Jenkins saying, fuck you, Tampa, for doing us the way you did us. So, I have Antonio Brown in my flex. Like I said, I think you got to have 2 of these guys in your lineup, whether it's Ben and Bell or Ben and Brown or, Brown and Bell. I think 2 of these guys have to be in your lineup. It's just too good of a matchup. Yep. And I went with Chicago's defense because I think Chicago is going to smash Green Bay tomorrow, and Green Bay might not score a point.
Interesting. Interesting. All right, so I guess we'll take it over there to Fanduel now. At my quarterback, I went with Matthew Stafford going against Cleveland. Cleveland's just a bad team. I went with Carlos Hyde against the Giants. You know how I feel about the Giants' rush defense if you listen to this podcast at all.
Mm-hmm.
I went with Doug Martin. Doug Martin last week received 8 carries. They basically came out and said they rested Doug Martin last week because they were getting trashed. They weren't going to run the ball because of the situation they were in. So I feel like this week they come back with a heavy run game. No Mike Evans, no Jameis Winston. I think that Doug Martin is going to see a lot of touches this week. So I like Doug Martin this week. And my wide receivers, I once again have Antonio Brown and Marvin Jones both. Like I said, Marvin Jones has just really come on this year and had a really good year so far. And Antonio Brown is the number one or number 2 receiver, depending on your format. But most of them, he should be your number 1. And my other receiver is Sterling Shepard. Steve just talked about Sterling Shepard, so that's kind of the situation. Where there's nobody else there for Eli to throw to except maybe Evan Ingram, and I think both of those guys can have a good day against San Fran, who's not a good team at all. At tight end, I went with Gronk. Denver has been getting trashed by the tight end this year. I think that Gronk has a huge week this week against Denver, coming out of the bye. He should be healthy coming out of the bye, 100% ready to go. My kicker is Mike Nugent, and my defense is the Tennessee Titans.
All right. So just real quick before I say mine, guys, me and Kev don't tell each other our lineups before, so I just want you guys to know that this is not something that we collaborate or whatever, because me and Kev both have the exact same wide receivers.
That's nuts.
Yeah. So we don't collaborate. This is not, we come on and we give you what we feel because, we want you guys to know that we, how we feel about certain players. So I went expensive at quarterback for Fanduel. I went with Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott has been amazingly efficient this year.
Yes.
He's basically, a floor of 17 fantasy points and, a ceiling of over 30 fantasy points. So, he's had one bad week. We saw that monsoon game against Washington where he scored 7.32 points.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
Exactly. But I think, he was highly faded that week. A lot of people were saying not to play him because they felt it was going to be a Zeke game and because it was going to be heavily, heavily raining that game. So, not a game that I think a lot of people relied on him. But, if you look at his other games, it's, 17, 22, 23, 30, 29, then the 7 game, and then 26.6. So he's just been, super, super consistent. So I got him in my lineup to this week. Le'Veon Bell, I've been telling you guys, you have to have 2 of these guys. So Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown are my 2. I went with Devontae Freeman at my other running back spot. Devontae Freeman is $6,500. It's the cheapest he's been since, I believe, the beginning of last year. Or no, it might have been the end of the year before or something like that. But it's been over a year that he's been $6,500 on FanDuel. And, I think with Julio being a little bit hobbled, and them knowing that Dallas can put up some points in this game, I think they're going to try to, smash Devontae. And he practiced in full today. Seems like, Coach said that he is going to play. He was a full participant in practice on Thursday. So, if that's the case, I could see them trying to get him involved, to kind of control the game and not let Dallas, jump up to a lead. I have the same exact wide receivers that Kev had. I have Antonio Brown. We, spoke about that. Sterling Shepard. I spoke about that with, DraftKings. And I have Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones for me, he has just been freaking amazing the past 3 weeks.
Really has, man.
Yeah, really he's been really awesome. And, and
it's kind of going on under the radar. I don't think a lot of people realize how good Marvin Jones has been the last month or so.
Exactly. The past 3 games, He's basically been 14, 11, and 11 targets. He has not caught less than 6 passes in each of the last 3 games, and he doesn't have less than 96 yards in each of the last 3 games. He's had 18.6 fantasy points, 15.8 fantasy points, and 26.2 fantasy points. And this week he gets a terrible Cleveland defense that is very good at stopping the run. So that tells me that they're going to be passing the ball. And as good as he has been for the past month, there's nobody on that team that can stop him. And, Matt Stafford seems to look at him in the end zone, so I can see him having a big week. And he's only 6,400, which is, it's basically Fanduel not paying attention to how great a guy has been.
Exactly.
Very, very underpriced. So my tight end, I went with Ed Dixon. I know Ed Dixon had a terrible week last week. A lot of people are probably not playing him. He had 2 targets, no catches. He had a 0. But if you watched the game last week with the Dolphins made Jared Cook. Jared Cook looked like a superstar tight end, and he was wide open on probably half of the catches he caught. So
exactly.
All I need is Ed Dixon to catch me one wide open pass in the end zone, and he pays off his $4,800 salary on FanDuel. And then I went with Ryan Suckup. I've been banging the drum for Ryan Suckup the entire season. I'm just going to run through his numbers real quick so you guys kind of feel me on this. He had 12, 15, 16, 2, 5, 21, 15, and 6. He's had basically 3 bad games and the rest games that he's in double digits. He has the upside of 21 fantasy points, and going against Cincinnati, a team that bends don't break defense. I could see him kicking a couple field goals. And I also went with the Chicago Bears again because I really do think that the Chicago Bears defense is legit. They're at home playing against a bad Green Bay offense. Yeah. Green Bay, if you watch that game last time they played, Green Bay threw up 4 touchdowns on them early in the game, and I think there's a little bit of payback coming this week. So
if I'm Green Bay, they didn't do it last week probably because they got down a little bit, but they got to go with a heavy dose of Aaron Jones this week.
I hear that. You're not lying.
They got to go with a heavy. Brett Hundley does not look like that guy.
I'll tell you what, I've watched the past 2 games on Brett Hundley because I just want I have Aaron Jones in a couple of leagues, and I like to watch my players' teams play to see what the hell's going on, and this guy has to be the worst starting quarterback in the NFL, and it's not close. Like it's I know a lot of people talk about Beathard and all the other quarterbacks that have looked bad so far. To me, if this kid doesn't run the ball, he has no chance of getting any yards. He's completed 2 passes of over 10 yards in the past 2 weeks. 2.
That's terrible.
That is ridiculous. Kev, me and you could do that, Kev.
I can do that. I can go out there and throw the ball 10 yards. That's all you want me to do. I can go do it.
It's crazy, bro.
You don't even got to give me the veterans minimum. I'll take $100,000.
That's what I'm saying. I'll take $100,000 to go out there and do that. It is outrageous how bad this kid has been. And if you watched the other day, Mike McCarthy, I watched the coaches speak afterwards, and this guy is talking about how how it's not Brett Hundley's fault why we're losing, and it's not Brett Hundley is not the reason why this team is playing so bad, and if he believes that, he should be fired immediately.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Exactly. He should literally be fired immediately. But all right, guys, so that is the podcast for us. We are going to be on again, I think, on Saturday. Tomorrow I have some stuff I have to do, so we'll figure it out. Definitely sometime on Saturday.
Saturday I'm off of work, so.
All right, cool. So we are going to do it on Saturday, and we will catch you guys later. Good luck tonight. Real quick, just to talk about tonight's game. For me, Kev, I don't know how you feel. I'm completely fading this game. Completely. I don't want anybody. Maybe Doug Baldwin is the only player in this game that I could really see that I would play in daily fantasy at all.
Oh, okay, daily. I was going to say. You're not benching Russell Wilson.
No.
I had to listen to you. I was going to say Doug Baldwin has honestly. if you look at DraftKings on the side, it gives the offensive, or the opponent's position rank, and Arizona offense or defense has not really stopped the pass this year the way they have in previous years.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually like 26th against the pass, I think, according to this, or 26th. So, it could be a game that the Seahawks offensive players are able to get off a little bit. However, I'm not banking on it because they always play each other tough. So, daily wise, I wouldn't start anybody in this game. I don't know the price tag. Let me see. Give me a second. I'm on DraftKings right now, and Thomas Rawls is $3,400. I may throw him out there as a flyer.
Yeah, I hear that.
With Eddie Lacy hurt, he's going to get probably most of the carries. So maybe I throw him out there as a flyer. But like you said, I'm probably not doing anything.
Yeah, we lost Kev real quick, guys. But for me, Doug Baldwin might be the only person I'm throwing in the lineup here, and honestly, it's only because here goes Kev. Yeah, what's going on, bro? So honestly, Doug. Yeah, no, you're good. So honestly, the only player that I'm thinking about in this game is Doug Baldwin. Like I said, Doug Baldwin. He's not going to see Patrick Peterson. Patrick Peterson doesn't. He does travel. He does stick the number one guy, but Doug Baldwin ends up going into the slot so often that Patrick Peterson doesn't shadow slot receivers. It's just not one position that he does. It's either the left or the right side. He's doing the X or Y receiver every game. It's just the way they play. So Doug Baldwin could have a game here. For his price tag. If you look at his price tag, he is actually, let's see here, Dougie is $6,400, which is not crazy expensive, but when I can get Marvin Jones for $6,200, I don't think I'm going to rock with Doug Baldwin at $6,400.
Exactly.
So
I was actually looking at that exact thing, I guess you could say, one-on-one matchup kind of when I was determining my receivers. And like you said, Marvin Jones has just been so much better than Doug Baldwin over the last month, and he's cheaper. So
yeah, exactly. He's $200 cheaper. So, for me, I'm basically fading this game completely, and I have no big issue with it. So, like I said, guys, that's us for tonight. We will catch you guys back here on Saturday sometime. I'll post it on Facebook and let you guys know when we're going to hit you guys up. So, other than that, let's get it, guys.
Take it easy, everybody.